Hello, guys, and welcome down to episode 3 of In My Opinion. And of course, I'm joined by Mikhile. And today we're going to talk about, in my opinion, what we think about wooden coasters. Alright, so we're starting off with my opinion this week on what I think about wooden coasters. And, well, just to talk a little bit about my experiences, Mikhile. It's probably not as much compared to you. Obviously, you've been in the States and you've ridden some monsters over there. My experience of wooden coasters really comes from growing up in going to Blackpool, Southport, and then later on in life got to Oakwood and ridden Megaphobia. Did Colossus at Terra Mythica as well, and Stampeder at PA. That's basically as far as my wooden coaster experiences go. Now, we can talk about how rough Blackpool coasters are, but the wooden coasters at Blackpool are iconic, and everybody knows of the Grand National, the Big Dipper, even the Nickelodeon Streak. Now that's becoming one of the most talked about family coasters in the UK at the moment. That is, it's had a resurgence since the repaint and Nickelodeon Land's been put in there. I remember it as the roller coaster. Went round it twice. On the first time I ever went round on it, they didn't put the brakes on. And me and my dad went round twice. That was at night as well. That was pretty fun. It was crazy because it was like my first main coaster that I'd been on.
Did you think it had just broken down or something?
I didn't know what had happened. but we hit that turnaround pretty quick before you go up the lift, though, I can tell you that much. But what I love about Blackpool's coasters, and just coming back off the experience I've just had this weekend at Blackpool with Sean and Joe from Parksville. Make sure you subscribe to them, by the way, guys. We had a killer ride on Grand National. Now, 2 years I've said I would not be going on it because the last ride that I had on it was too painful. Wasn't rough, it was painful. I came off with really bad ribs. I don't know why, I just did. So I thought, okay, let's do it. Let's give it another chance. Maybe it's had some new wheels, maybe it's had some new bearings or whatever over the winter season this year. So I thought, let's go. Let's give it a go. Back row. So I'm like, all right, what's this going to be like? And we left the station, and it was, if it's smooth out the station on Nash, I've always found that you can have a pretty decent ride. It's just the double downs that are really low to the ground where it proper hits down onto the track as it drops down because it's carrying so much speed. And yeah, it's a Charles Page ride, and there's 3 of them, I think. There's a Streak, there's Big Dipper, and there's Nash. I don't know if he did Zipper Dipper or Blue Flyer now. I don't know if he did that or not, but I'm just looking here. No, he didn't, I don't think. But so that was my experience this weekend on Nash, was of a great one, and it made me appreciate the layout so much on a traditional wooden coaster that just goes round, drops, goes round, drops, goes round, drops. And you know what? It was like, it was a nice refresher. Like, because the only wooden coaster I've been on in the last 2 years was Wicker Man. So, like, it proper just reminded me of what, like, old school woodies feel like. The proper lats, the proper forceful, horrible little hits you get every so often, and then just the beautiful airtime because they're just carrying so much speed.
I feel like for that reason, just I kind of see Grand National as one of those, well, just like one of the coasters at Blackpool, if not the coaster that really has, to the highest degree, like that traditional amusement park kind of feel and vibe to it.
Yeah,
like you see that in Racer at Kennywood. Like it kind of has the same kind of style, the same kind of layout to it, like drop, turn around, drop, maybe a small airtime hill, turn around again, etc., etc. And I love that feel that Grand National has about it, despite the fact that you can't really see much of the layout unless you're on it.
Yeah,
but
it's always been weird that. I mean, it's always been a bit
when
like,
you are on it. Yeah.
I remember as a kid, like, just trying to get any glimpse I can at it, like on the way home, like in the car as you go around the back, just one little cheeky look there. Oh, that's what it does. Like, you could never quite recreate it on RCT because you couldn't see the whole layout. It was one of them. But for me, when I got on another wooden coaster outside of Blackpool was when I did Megaphobia at Oakwood. Now that was an eye-opener. I didn't know that it could do that. Like, I didn't know that it could go that steep, it could go that fast, and they could be so intense. Like, really a proper thrill ride.
Mm.
Compared to a wooden coaster now is probably seen as a family coaster unless it's like 200 foot tall. I don't know, maybe not, I don't know, but I kind of see them as that. Like the Big Dipper is a prime example of that for me. Like that is just such a cool, that is a cool ride where you can enjoy with everybody can get on that, and it's a good step up. Then Nash is a good step up. So
Yeah.
that's what I like about Blackpool. And when growing up with Blackpool Pleasure Beach is you had so much, you could level off at an early age, and then you could keep leveling up as you got older. And when they put the big one in, that was like, that's the ultimate. That was the ultimate. So that's what I liked about Blackpool so much growing up, and the experiences. But like I said, going back to when I went to Oakwood for the first time, man, I ridden Megaphobia. I think it was about 14 times in one day. I loved it. I didn't think you could do it. It's got like the roughness of, well, not the roughness, but the impactfulness. I think that's the right word. The impact that it makes on your body when you hit certain transitions. Like on every wooden coaster, it does that really. Wicker Man doesn't really have that. It has more lats than anything. Doesn't have to slam you down into the track like the older coasters do. And I think that's why GCI have, I think they found the middle ground between having these coasters that will just hit down into the track on transitions on wooden coasters, and where coasters just kind of glide over the rails instead of hitting down. I think they really nailed profiling with Wicker Man and how it feels. So where I would love to see that much. I'd love to see them retrack National with the profiling and just to experience that ride how they would have ridden it like many years ago. Just brand new, out of the box, shiny, all white paint, fresh as anything. Train's ready to go and race, and yeah, I'd love to do that. If they retrack Nash, this is what me and Sean were saying. Is if they retrack Nash, that's all they need to do. Is just retrack
That's literally
it.
it. That's
Yeah,
literally it.
they don't need to RMC it. They don't need to do anything else. Just retrack it.
All this noise about it getting RMC needs to get killed quick, fast, and in a hurry. RMC don't need to be looking in the general direction of Grand National. I don't
think you need to be looking in the general direction of Pleasure Beach. I think Pleasure Beach is, well, that's for another conversation we can have.
Sure,
but just quickly, I think they should throw back Big Dipper where steeplechase is. But after learning that it's the only steeplechase ride left in the world, they probably ain't going to get rid of it. So, yeah. And if Icon didn't fit through that gap in the big one supports, it was never going to go that side of the park. So,
yeah,
interesting to learn that this weekend. And if you want to learn more about Blackpool Pleasure Beach and some facts about it, make sure you watch mine and Sean's Lift Hill Walk that we did this weekend, because we had Andy there, who's the head of operations, talking with us as we went up the big one, which was incredible, which we later found out about. I wish I knew more about I wish I knew that at the time, that he was the head of ops. But yeah, that's it was very interesting. It was a crazy experience as well. But just like looking back down at Pleasure Beach and seeing the wooden coaster profiling that they have there, it was like, they are classic. They are like, really classic, but they've got their own, like, they've got their own unique elements to them. Every coaster, every wooden coaster at Blackpool has their own unique element to them. For example, Nick's Streak coming down behind Space Invaders, that drop where it turns around and comes down and then goes up and does the turnaround.
Oh,
that's a unique drop. There's no other wooden coaster at Blackpool that does that, really. The big one does, the Big Dipper does it, but to the left, and then you go through the tunnel. But now there's nothing like that. So it's crazy. It makes you appreciate that they could actually do that with the wooden coasters at the time, because these coasters are so old, but they hold so much to this day still. They still entertain people. They still thrill people. All right, they might bang you about a little bit, more than probably the ones that you've been on in America. I don't know what the ones in America feel like. But from my experience of wooden coasters, it's always been a fun one. It's always been a crazy one. You don't know what you're going to get every time you ride. That's probably one of the best things about them, is every ride is different because of the elements that are involved.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, you could go on one ride, it could be rough as toast, or you can go on another one, it can be smooth like butter. But yeah, I just think that the wooden coaster experience, in terms of what they offer in layout, in terms of feelings and G-force, and all of the impactfulness you get on them, and the lats and everything. Yeah, I just really like them. I think it's a different experience to get at a theme park. You can go on a monster steel coaster like the big one, for example, and jump on like Nickelodeon Streak and still have a good time, and that's what I like about them. They always hold their own against anything. They'll always
Yeah.
be what they are. If they're going to be rough from the start, fair enough. But I mean, I think it just boils down to maintenance and what parks want to do with them in terms of how they turn out over the years. A lot of discussion right now of Wicker Man is quite evident on Twitter. People saying it's got rough, people saying it's got rougher. I think it's just not aging very well. There's something about the area it's in, maybe, that is forcing that to happen quickly than what it should do. Because I remember like going on it for the first time and it being like, wow, I can't believe a wooden coaster. That was my first GCI. I can't believe that coaster feels like that. It felt like a steel coaster, but with the lats of a wooden coaster. That's what it felt like. And when I went on it this year with James, I was a bit like, it doesn't feel like it did. I don't know. And it's been down quite a few times. I mean,
As of recently, yeah.
yeah, how rough a coaster is subjective, big time. So it's how you feel.
Very, very.
And what you can take. Some people find Smiler rough. I don't find the Smiler rough. Colossus rough. I don't find Colossus rough. There's coasters that a lot of people find rough that I don't. I mean, it's down to tolerance as well. Like, like you said earlier, off air, it is literally down to your tolerance. And if your experience is a bad experience for the first time on a wooden coaster, you're probably going to be like, do I need to carry on riding these, or should I just keep going on these steel coasters? Like,
I think that that's one of the things that make wooden coasters so interesting to think about and talk about, because going back to Blackpool, I think that the ones at Blackpool are very sort of unique in the sense that the way they're laid out, and the way their coasters in general are laid out, especially over on the Big Dipper side of the park and beyond up into Steeplechase, it's a very, for each one of them, it's a very one of one fit. Like, they're all intertwining with each other. The ground is somewhat uneven because of it, and it's kind of like Groneland in a sense that, like I said, like, they're all crossing over and under each other, and it's not really something that you could replicate somewhat like at a lot of other parks. There's only a few parks out there, or just not very many parks in general, that that can have such custom layouts that give such interaction with each other like that. And wooden coasters are great contributors to that kind of experience because of how varied they can be. Definitely. Like we talk about the ones at Blackpool made by Charles Page, Grand National, Big Dipper, Nick Streak, etc. And then even into the more modern manufacturers like GCI, CCI, which is now Gravity Group. Those ones, even though they're a bit more accurately replicated with each rendition of one that they bring out, it does, like you said, all come down. A lot of it comes down to the way it's maintained, how often it's retracked, how often, like how to what extent the trains are taken care of, and things of that nature. There's a lot more margin for variation in that sense when it comes to wooden coasters than it is to steel coasters, and that's one thing that's one thing that gives wooden coasters so much character. So much
that's a great way of putting it. Character is probably the right. Every wooden coaster has its own character. I agree with that, definitely.
For sure. Like, even like I mentioned other manufacturers before, going from just going through each GCI, for example, going from Wickerman to Invader to I've not ridden these, but like even like Woden and Troy, they all feel so different from each other, and they may profile the same way, or very similarly, but they all I can imagine. Like I said, I haven't I haven't had the opportunity to ride Woden and Troy yet, but I can imagine they feel very different from each other in terms of how they're riding on each day, and those two feel different from the likes of, like I said, Wickerman and some of the other GCIs that I've ridden as well. So like it's very, if you're really into riding different coasters and stuff, then Woody's a definitely definitely the coaster that you want to try out and get a lot and as many as you can under your belt. And because if you're interested in seeing, like, the differences between certain coasters and certain others, then you're gonna have a lot to think about.
A hell of a lot.
The more you ride.
Like, even we've been talking, we were going to do this for a couple of days now, and like I've been trying to think, like, what can you talk about that somebody else would have experienced on a wooden coaster, and it's like you can't, because everything's different every time. It's so different. Like, it depends where you sit. If you sit on a wheel, if you're at the front, you'll get the kick from the back. If you're at the back, you'll get the whip. But all that comes from everyone's experiencing steel coasters. Now we've got to think back as well, back in time. All them experiences we get on steel coasters now, the airtime, the overbanks, the turnarounds, all that wouldn't exist without wooden coasters. And if you get on some of the older ones, you can experience what they were trying to do, like what they were trying to do then, but they were limited with how far they could do with bankings and stuff like that. Can you imagine if Charles Page had the technology that we have, like, right now, to building like Grand National? That would just be like insane. How many rides, comment below how many wooden coasters you think would benefit our technologies these days. I'm not talking about RMC, I'm just talking about being able to bend wood and steel and the framing and the trains, everything that we've learned about, the comfort of the seats as well, profiling of the track. Just imagine, like, your favorite wooden coaster if it was like modernized. That would just be amazing. All right, so that's my opinion on wooden coasters and what I feel about them, why I like them so much, and why I think they're just unique in theme parks in general. So, Mikhile, what's your opinion on them?
All right, so I, as plainly as I can put it, I do love wooden coasters. I think, in my opinion, they can't really be. I do have my preferences of some more so or less than other, like, steel coasters and stuff, but in the broad sense of the term, I don't really think they can be compared to steel coasters. They just offer way too different of an experience, and to say one is objectively better than some steel coaster is kind of, it's kind of like comparing different genres of music, right? They're way too different, and they're way too characterized within themselves to really put them against each other. But yeah, I've been lucky to sort of experience a lot of different kind of wooden coasters over the past couple of years, and some older ones, some more modernized ones, some newer ones. During my trip last year, during my trip through the United States last year, I managed to get a few under my belt. So you've got the likes of Lightning Rod, Outlaw Run, El Toro, Voyage, Thunderhead at Dollywood, Ghost Rider, which I rode a good few years ago, actually. I rode that in 2011. You got Phoenix on there. I got Rampage at Alabama Adventure. You mentioned Megaphobia. Rampage is very similar layout wise to Megaphobia from what I've seen. And Rampage is actually my 200th coaster, so
nice.
So there's that as well. And so yeah, so I've gotten to really experience what they are like in, I suppose,
different settings.
yeah, in different settings, and their most in the kind of like purest form as
Yeah,
well, like
yeah, yeah,
all different kinds of the day. And I kind of I kind of feel like Americans and American parks are more receptive to wooden coasters in general, because I mean, like we saw in 2018, Wicker Man was the first new wooden coaster that the
yeah,
UK had in what, 21 years or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. It was 20 years, I think it
um
was,
yeah, yeah, something like that.
which is crazy when you think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
So like it's just it was really good. It was really good to get out there and see how they ride, um how their wooden coasters ride, how how they're maintained over the years and stuff.
Yeah,
And definitely to see um like much older ones, like for instance, like Thunder Run at Kentucky Kingdom, or Screaming Eagle at
hmm,
Six Flags St. Louis, or something like that. How they're still run. They kind of are like the Grand Nationals and the Big Dippers of the UK, in the sense that they are much older than the more modern GCIs, the Gravity
yeah.
Groups, the RMZ Toppers, etc. But they're still running so well.
So yeah, like when I checked out Coaster Force when I was younger, and and all the other forums and that, and you always seen like these massive US wooden coasters, I'd be like, how? Like how is it? What are they like? You've been on them, so tell us.
And to your point, just to go back to Voyage real quick, this might this might be a bit of a spicy opinion, but maybe a bit unpopular. But so my experience of Voyage, I was like, I saw it and sort of like perceived it the same way you did, looking at like Coaster Force pictures and RCDB and stuff like that. Like having gotten 3 rides on it over the course of one day, I um going into it, I was expect well, what I got was it is a world class wooden coaster experience for sure. It definitely deserves to be in that conversation of the best wooden coasters in the world, the best coasters in the world, in the world in general. It definitely deserves to be in the conversation. I wasn't like I was I was expecting it to kill the conversation. I was
Mm,
expecting it to be I, what I got was world class. I was expecting world beating.
yeah.
I was expecting like the best,
Mm.
definitively the best wooden coaster that I'd ever ridden, and unfortunately, that's not quite what I got. I was I don't know if it was just like I rode it on a particularly bad day. It was I don't know if it was running a bit slowly, or whatever. Like I said, I've only ridden it on one day. I've not ridden it at Hollywood Nights yet. I've not been to Hollywood Nights when they turn the mid course off and they have it running through the night and stuff. I've not had that night ride yet. It is high on my bucket list.
Mm.
So obviously I can't speak to you know the most comprehensive experience that it can give. But the experience that I got, it is sitting just outside of my top 10 right now. It's like 11 or 12 or something like that. And
Well, that
I
says a
was
lot though, because you've been on a lot of rides, and for that just to be sitting outside your top 10, that still says a
sure,
lot
yeah,
about it.
it
Definitely.
it it does, it does. And the fact that it kind of it fell just a tiny bit short of my expectations. It's just short of my top 10, but it still offered me a much better wooden coaster experience and coaster experience in general than a lot of other woodies I've done. That
Mm.
says a lot about how it is, how just how good it can be when it's at its absolute best as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, I really just feel like wooden coasters in general, they are sort of like the epitome of like choosing what you prefer in just a roller coaster experience in its
Yeah.
broadest sense. Because if you want your roller coaster experience to be super smooth, super comfortable, and just kind of no jolts or any kind of like disturbance of that smoothness anywhere, then you're going to have your affinity to steel coasters, and you're not going to gravitate so much towards wooden coasters in general, are you?
No.
But I kind of just feel like that's sort of the reason why steel coasters and wooden coasters can't be compared, because they offer such different experiences. And when people talk about wooden coasters, certain wooden coasters being rough and stuff, it's kind of just like, that's how they're supposed to feel. They're supposed to feel rugged. They're supposed to jolt you around a bit. They're supposed to like shake you up a bit. They're supposed to be like, that's sort of like their display of aggression, like this. And like
it's their barrel roll.
it's their whippy transition.
It is.
And like it's not to be compared, it's just to be appreciated. Really.
Definitely. That's a great
and I
way
mean
of putting it.
And I mean like your preference is your preference. If you prefer, just like anything else, if you prefer one thing over another, then that's absolutely fine. But just to always be mindful of the fact that one isn't, in its broadest sense, like one isn't better than another, in my opinion. They just offer two different things, two different experiences.
I absolutely agree. Like literally, in my opinion, wooden coasters are wooden coasters, and steel coasters are steel coasters. They both contribute to our industry and to the theme parks and to the enthusiasts. There's something for everyone, which is what is so good about wooden coasters. They offer that variation to what steel offers. It offers the roughness, the jank, everything. It's great. It's good fun as well. Like, you can get on a coaster, it can be rough as hell, but if you're on with a few mates, you just be like, well, that was fun, wasn't it? And then, you can have that conversation after. Whereas you get off a steel coaster and you think, it's not meant to be rough. Why is it rough? It's not designed to be rough. Why is it rough? Like, and that's the difference. Like, if you come off a wooden coaster that is proper brutal, you think, all right, they made that wrong. A steel coaster, you come off it and you go, that was brutal. Why? It shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? Like, wooden coasters are designed to be rough and noisy and full of life. And steel coasters are meant to be what they are. And how they look on a computerized POV from No Limits or whatever is how they're supposed to look and feel.
Yeah.
When you ride them. And when they don't, people complain. And that's why you get people saying, like, Rita's rough, or like other there's tons of coasters, and I'm not just bullying Rita. There's loads of steel coasters that are rough. And that's why they do it, because they think, well, if you were going to have that, why don't you just build a Woody? Like, and that's kind of how I feel about it. But anyway, we've been talking about this for a while now, so I think we're going to wrap this up. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, episode 3 of In My Opinion, it was all about wooden coasters, and make sure you check out our other episodes as well, where we've talked about our top coasters. And what was last week's episode? I can't remember.
Shambhala.
Yes. We talked about Shambhala, the amazing B&M hypercoaster at Portaventura. So yeah, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that bell and follow us on our socials. And for now, I've been Luke, he's been Mikhile, and we've been CoasterGen, and we'll see you next time, guys.